And I'm going to be. Yes, sir. We may need to spread out here.
Can we get more members over here?
Squeeze on tight. Thank you.
Where you check? Not getting great like me yet. He tells me the same thing. Committee member. Trying to kill all this business. We've been around here a while. Last week. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Right by you. Okay, yeah, here. Okay, okay.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for taking time to be with us here today, especially the legislators who are gathered behind me, as well as the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker. As I think the Lieutenant Governor will remember, the last time that we had a joint press conference with the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker, and myself was near the end of the 2019 general session, when we were on the eve of passing game-changing reforms to the property tax system in the state of Texas. And it was a very productive press conference like this, as well as an extraordinarily productive session. Same is true at this moment in time. I think this is the first time we three have gathered for a press conference since then. We're gathered today for this because we are on the cusp of another type of game-changing piece of legislation. As you probably know, the Texas Senate has passed out of their entire chamber school choice in the state of Texas. Next week, the Texas House Education Committee is expected to pass out of their committee school choice for the first time in the history of Texas. Then, in a few weeks after that, it will be headed to the floor of the Texas House of Representatives. At this time, we wanted to acknowledge how much Texas has taken a step forward for educating children in our state. School choice is so important for parents. It is essential for students. I'll talk to parents across the state every single day. Many of them have 3 or more kids, and they all tell me pretty much the same thing. And that is, one of their kids goes to a public school, another goes to a private school, another one is homeschooled, and they say that the pathway each has taken is the best for that child. No one knows better than a parent the power and the importance of school choice for children. But as governor, as much as I prioritize parents, as much as we must prioritize our students, as governor, I also prioritize something else. And that is to ensure that our state will be number one in whatever area or subject field that we could be categorized. On that side of this room, there are many trophies. Those trophies go to the state that ranks number one in the United States for the most economic development projects in any particular year. Texas has won that award for 13 years in a row. We rank number one for economic development, number one for jobs, number one for so many things. It's time that Texas ranks number one for educating our students in this state. There is a clear pathway to achieve that goal. A marker of that pathway is if you look at the state that's ranked number one right now for education, it's Florida. Florida also ranks number one for the largest school choice program in the United States. If we are going to achieve our goal of being ranked the best state in America for educating our students, it starts this session by passing school choice. The stakes have never been higher. As we speak right now, Texas ranks number one for four of the most important subject areas for the future of the United States, for the future of the entire world. One is space, another is artificial intelligence, a third is semiconductors, and the fourth is power that powers the other three. If we're going to remain number one in all those areas and more, we have to do a better job of making sure our children get a better education. And that starts with school choice. Like I said earlier, the large step was taken toward that goal when the Senate, once again, passed school choice out of their chamber. I'm proud of the leadership that's been shown by Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick in this area, as well as so many others. And I turn the mic over to him.
Thank you, Governor. I think the Bible says on the seventh day he rested. We've passed school choice 6 times. The Senate is now resting. We are waiting for the House. I want to share with you that I think we're on the cusp of actually the greatest session in Texas history. I've never had a better working relationship with the Speaker. We're aligned in so many issues. I know as his first year, it's taken him a few extra weeks to get his feet on the ground and get set up. But I expect to see a flurry of great bills, including school choice, to come out of the Texas House. He's been with us from day one on that issue. For the media in here, just to help you get the facts straight, let's remember this. Texas is funding education at one of the highest levels ever, now more than 50%. We have put more money into school security than ever before. Teacher pay in 2019, the average in 2019 across the state was $54,000. At the end of this session, it will be $69,000, plus incentives for teachers who really excel at a much higher level. Put this in perspective. We have 5.5 million kids in K through 12 public education. 5.5, with a budget, state budget of about $84 billion. Got those numbers? 5.5, 84 billion. School choice, despite the fact that it will be the largest launch of school choice in the history of the world, $1 billion and 100,000 students, I just want you to paint the picture. 5.5 million kids, 100,000. 84 billion, $1 billion. So anyone who says that we are undermining education, that is simply a total lie. What we are doing in our K through 12 public schools, it's funding them more than ever before. Recapture has almost disappeared. We've cut school taxes, M&O taxes, by 40%. We're doing everything we can to have a robust public education system because that's where most students will go. But every parent deserves a choice. I've been working with Be an Angel for almost 40 years with children with disabilities, and I can tell you that not every public school has the experienced teachers to deal with a child who has a severe disability. Are we going to deny a parent who has a child with a disability the right to go to a school that can help their child? Of course we would not do that. We have children who are in failing schools who have been failing year after year after year. Are we going to deny that parent the right to take their child to a school that can give them the American dream? That's what we're talking here. Every one of you in this room, behind that camera or microphone, you've excelled in something in your life because you had a great education and because your parents got you a great education. If they're in a school that's a failure, they have no chance. And that's what school choice is about. It's universal. It's for students with disabilities, students in failing schools. And I believe that for all of these members behind us, this will be a bill, when they pass it in the House, that will be part of their legacy in life because they will change lives. So I'm proud of Brandon Creighton, Brad Buckley working together, the governor, the speaker. I'm glad the governor from Arizona here, Doug Ducey, who's been a champion on this and has a great story. But media, you have to help tell the truth in this story. School choice is only going to make our schools more competitive and better for every child in Texas. Thank you.
Now, Speaker Dustin Burrows.
Thank you. I'll say this. We have had a great working relationship, the House has, with the Senate and Governor, especially on these education issues. I've appreciated Governor Ducey being here so that members can hear his perspective from Arizona. We can fully fund public education and do school choice at the same time. Let me repeat that. We can fully fund public education and provide meaningful opportunities in competition through school choice at the same time, which is why the House has been committed to passing both SB 2 and HB 3 in tandem. Chairman Buckley has been working hard with his committee. It's been a great committee. They've stayed up till 6:30 in the morning working on these issues, and he's been working with his Senate counterparts, Chairman Creighton, to make sure we have it right. I expect early next week the House Public Education Committee will pass out both bills, a school finance bill and a universal comprehensive school choice bill from the Pub Ed Committee, and it'll be on the floor very soon thereafter and pass. We have appreciated the working relationship. We are excited to continue to get that on the governor's desk and become law. And thank you all for the opportunity to do that, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. During my entire service as governor, I had the opportunity to be good friends with the governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey. And he and I have talked long before today with my admiration for him and his leadership to get school choice passed in Arizona. And I thought nothing could be better than maybe having somebody with the frontline experience to be here and to share his thoughts about what happened in Arizona. So I turn the mic over to the immediate past governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey.
Thank you, Governor Abbott. It's great to be here in Texas with you and Lieutenant Governor Patrick and Speaker Burrows. And there's very few things that Arizona is going to beat Texas on or be first on. But I'm here to be fully supportive of what you and your chambers are trying to do here with universal school choice. This is the biggest issue at the state level across the country. And K-12 education has been flatlining in this nation since 1982. In this nation, we very rarely solve a problem. We innovate out of a problem, and the innovation here is universal school choice. Arizona took all of 8 years to pass this in our state. We were the first state to get it done. 13 other states have since followed suit, but no state even close to as big, as impactful, and as consequential as Texas has passed it yet. And when Texas passes this, it changes everything for every child in this state and across the nation. I tell the story often on how it took us 8 years to get this done. How my partner in accomplishing this was a lady named Janelle Wood. Janelle Wood led the Black Mothers Forum, and she was not happy with me on a number of issues, but she wanted to find a way to work together. And I said, Janelle, that idea is school choice. Janelle Wood sat next to Angela Ducey, the First Lady at my last State of the State, and I said from the podium, 50 years ago, politicians stood in the schoolhouse door and wouldn't let minorities in. Today, politicians stand in the schoolhouse door and won't let minorities out. These kids are trapped in failing public schools, and it's time to set these families free. Janelle Wood led the standing ovation. She rallied the African American pastors to whip the votes. Not one of them a Republican. They were doing it because their children needed this opportunity. This is not a partisan issue. This is an American issue and a civil rights issue. It should be available to every child in our nation. If you live in the suburbs or the right zip code, you have access to an excellent education. If you can access a Catholic school, a Christian school, a Hebrew school, you have access to that opportunity and an excellent education. Every child in our nation, if we believe in equality of opportunity, should have access to an excellent education, and that's what this bill will do.
Thank you, Governor Ducey. Thank the other members up here. Listen, we're going to get this across the finish line. And when we do, Texans will see that when it comes to education, it's not one or the other. It's not either public schools or school choice. We can do both at the very same time. We're going to fully fund public education while at the same time ensure that parents and children are going to have the opportunity to find the school that's best for them. We'll take a few questions.
Hey, Governor, it sounded like you're still trying to make a sales pitch. Have you not sealed the deal yet?
So as you know, there's more than enough co-authors in the Texas House who remain committed to ensure that legislation is going to pass. I have every reason to think there will be even more than that in favor of it when school choice hits the House floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do want to go ahead and confirm what he said. There will be more votes on the House floor for school choice when it passes than there are co-authors.
Governor, wanted to ask you about cost. We talked about this last week. And Democrats are out saying today that don't Arizona want Texas, and they're going to, what they say is budget deficits, how this program ran up the costs. I know there are others who say not true. So A, what are people supposed to believe? And then number two, just going back to my question last week as far as costs, the Legislative Budget Board said the year 2030 costs are going to go up to about $4 billion. And so Miami has potential $8 billion. My question today is, that means, you said last week, budget has to stay, we're budgeting it this way, whatever the state can afford will do it. But how is that going to work for parents? So are people going to be kicked out of the program? How is that going to work so that the state stays in budget but tries to expand the program?
When I'm done answering your question, I'll let Governor Ducey explain his perspective on the cost in Arizona. That said, listen, with all due respect to the LBB and their budget projections, it's based on nothing but fiction. The way the budget works in the state of Texas is voted on every other year. And only members of the legislature get to cast a vote and determine how much money to allocate to any particular program, including public education as well as school choice. The amount it looks like to be allocated to school choice this session is $1 billion. Is wrong, flat out incorrect, for anybody to suggest that number is going to grow larger in future years. The number can only grow as large as much as the Texas legislature decides to appropriate to it. And so unless and until we get to future sessions, only then will a determination be made about whether or not it's going to increase or decrease. And that gets back to the last part of your question. Are parents going to be kicked out? I appreciate your optimism because you're assuming that it will be fully subscribed. This, when it passes, will be the first year ever we've had school choice. And it looks like it could be up to, for what, 70, 80, how many thousand?
Close to 100,000.
Close to 100,000.
Depends on what bucket they fall into, 80
But-
to 100,000.
Here's what nobody knows. How many people are actually going to participate in it? Is it going to be 100,000? We don't know that. And we won't know that until we get into the system. After we learn how many will subscribe to it, we can calibrate at that time just as we have with regard to charter schools. But right now, it would be guesswork to assume that would be more, let's say, an oversubscription, and what would happen to those if it is oversubscribed, and what the cost would be. But again, the cost is going to be limited to only what the Texas legislature appropriates to it, with no automatic increase in future years. Hold on a second, because I mentioned that the Arizona governor can respond to any cost in Arizona.
So school choice has been wildly popular in the state of Arizona, and it's also been a winner in the state of Arizona, not only for parents, but both for the budget and financially. When I came into office in 2015, we had a $1 billion deficit. We put more money per capita into K-12 education than any other state in the nation over the next 8 years. We also got our teachers a 20% pay raise during that time while we expanded school choice. I left the current governor, Katie Hobbs, a $2.5 billion surplus. That's with school choice. Any budget challenges that they're facing today is because of irresponsible spending that's happened since 2023. So they need to not spend as much as they are spending and just allow the state to grow and use the revenues appropriately.
Can I ask about low-income families? Again, you guys have talked about this a lot in terms of how do you get people in low-income areas where there aren't many private schools potentially for them right now? Like, what happens to those families? Do they get, a lot of them can't afford to make that transportation. I know in Arizona I've read stories where there's still a lot of low-income families who can't participate in the ESA. They don't have the money for transportation. They don't have all the money for all the other costs. So what happens to those families? Is this a wait and see, wait for competition to get to their school district? Or do you help their school districts now in some way that makes it a good education, even if you're in the south side of San Antonio or in the Fifth Ward?
So first of all, the program is designed as for a family income of $161,000 or less. Secondly, I would tell you that if you look at the charter school movement, we don't provide transportation, and our charter schools are bursting at the seams. There are thousands of people on the wait list. When you're a parent and you have a child in a failing school with no hope, you will do what it takes to get them to that school so they have hope. They find a way, and there will be schools. There are Catholic schools, Christian schools, Jewish schools, you name the schools, and private schools all around Texas, whether they're in the suburbs or the urban areas, and more will open. More will open. So, look, the best problem we could have is we're oversubscribed, and people can't wait to get their kids in those schools. And you know what? The great state of Texas will figure that out.
So you mentioned two areas of the state that have low-income families. One is South San Antonio. The other is the Fifth Ward in Houston. I've actually pulled up on a map both of those areas to see how many private schools are nearby at a rate that is less than what's being provided in school choice. And within about a 10 to 15 mile radius, there are many private schools that are available to them, both in South San Antonio as well as in the Fifth Ward in Houston, Texas. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
I would just point out this. School choice, by definition, requires a choice between two things. And you talk about public education, and we are committed to fully funding it and having a robust public education system that is there as a good choice for many students as well. And I do believe those private schools are available throughout a lot of the state.
I want to address, too, because you did invoke Arizona. Half of the kids that are in our school choice program are below the average working wage. So this is access to all. Many of these schools provide a scholarship over and above what the state provides. So there's a way to close the gap, and it's for everyone in the state.
You've been dying to ask a question.
Luis, Atay from Telemundo. Do you believe that your plan helps to poor families?
Help what?
To poor families?
For poor families.
For poor families. So school choice already exists for the wealthy. This ensures school choice for people of all means, including those of low-income means. We wanted to make sure that parents of low income are going to have the same opportunity that the wealthy have, so that those parents are going to be able to choose a school that may be better for their child.
Two more questions.
Governor, we're sitting here today and we have
Representative Eddie Morales today, who represents the biggest district in Texas and in the country, and who also said that private schools are scarce. So you're saying that we will have availability for our students in this district that represents 11 counties that all have border towns.
I'll give you several examples. I think Alpine is in that district. Pull up Alpine and see the number of private schools there. Look further out west near the Pecos area for the private schools there. And so there already exist options that are available. But when school choice passes, it may mean that there will be more schools that decide to open up and provide that opportunity in locations across his district as well as across the state.
Last question.
The El Paso District Attorney just recently announced that they offered a free deal to the 2019 law register to avoid the death penalty. Do you have a comment on that?
No, first I've heard about it, and I think the guy does deserve the death penalty, to be honest. A heinous shooting like that is what capital punishment is for.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Well, is beyond reprehensible. It's a crime. It's a crime that the Department of Justice has made clear they're going to investigate and prosecute.
All right, thank you.
Great. Thank you.